Hey everybody, welcome back to PathMonk Presents. PathMonk is the AI for website conversions. With increasing online competition, over 98% of website visitors don't convert. The ability to successfully show your value proposition and support visitors in their buying journey separates you from the competition online. PathMonk qualifies and converts leads on your website by figuring out where they are in the buying journey and influencing them in key decision moments with relevant micro experiences like case studies, intro videos, and much more. Stay relevant to your visitors and increase conversions by 50% by adding PathMonk to your website in seconds, letting the artificial intelligence do all the work, and increase conversions by 50% while you keep doing marketing as usual. Check us out on pathmonk.com. Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of PathMonk Presents. We're really looking forward to today's episode because we've got Amanda Johnson, the Director of Lead Generation over at Easy Metrics. Amanda, how you doing today?
I'm really well, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing great. Really looking forward to today's conversation. So, before we dive into anything too deep into the weeds of everything and really getting to know everything about you and the business, why don't you give us a little bit of an overstatement about who Easy Metrics is, what type of business you are, and who you're helping out?
For sure. So, Easy Metrics is a SaaS company that helps supply chain organizations really understand and improve their labor performance. So, in warehouses and distribution centers, labor is usually like the single biggest cost, but it's also one of the hardest things to manage and measure. So, we take all of the complex data from the operation systems and turn it into clear, actionable insights so leaders can run their operations more efficiently and profitably.
Yeah, I think labor is one of those things that people think about as how do I say, just another aspect of maybe let's say some sort of manufacturing or some sort of really labor
Right.
intensive job. But it's not as easy to manage as let's say I don't know, the supply chain or maybe the costs or legal or something like that. Labor is
Yeah,
always changing. It's never going to be the same. So to be able to have some sort of a tool that really makes that a much easier process, I can see that working
absolutely.
for anybody.
And there's a
Um,
lot of variables, human variables.
Human variables that are
Yep,
not really involved with other areas of the business, right?
exactly. Exactly.
Okay, so maybe you can give us a little bit more insights about who is it that you guys are serving and what's kind of like the main problems that you're serving for these types of businesses.
So we primarily serve enterprise and mid-market companies that have a lot of warehouses,
Mhm.
multiple warehouses, or maybe one or two super gigantic ones. So they're typically in actual warehousing and distribution and
Mhm.
manufacturing. So basically, anyone that has a warehouse that moves products, we help them become more efficient in how they move that product through the warehouse. And we also do a lot of work with 3PLs, which is essentially that kind of middleman that distributes all the products for everybody else. So again, labor is one of the biggest expenses of these companies. And so it's really critical for them to optimize their labor costs, optimize their processes, and make smarter decisions based directly on that data that can impact their profitability. Where are they losing time? How can they do something more efficient? If they have, someone that's running around fulfilling orders, is there a more efficient path to get from A to B to C? So those are the types of things that we really help them solve for to make them more efficient.
It, to me, as kind of a novice in this area, it sounds like there's probably a lot of moving parts when we talk about
Yes.
labor in large warehouses. In my mind, I imagine a ton of people running around with different tasks,
Yeah.
doing a bunch of different things. And how do you kind of keep track of what everyone is doing? It sounds like
Exactly.
making this easier, not just what is a more efficient way of doing so and what is a more profitable way of doing so, but also easing kind of what's the way that I want to say it, ease of mind kind of thing. Like it's probably a
Yeah.
really frustrating thing to always be following what's everyone doing, how are they doing it,
Yeah.
it
Yeah. And
sounds
I
like
think
that's one of the pain points that you guys are solving.
absolutely. It's that visibility into who's doing what when, especially when you have so many people doing so many different things. And it's not only from that perspective of like from the top down, but also, a lot of people that are working on the floor doing those actual jobs have little to no idea of like, am I doing a good job? How, like, am I meeting my numbers? What does that even look like? Are these numbers fair? So it's kind of a two-way street in that too, is giving that visibility into what does good look like, what does better look like, and then having that visibility for everyone.
That makes sense. Yeah, and I feel like I'm going to be learning a lot throughout this conversation. Okay, so next question. I want to focus a little bit on your audience. This is ultimately a podcast that focuses mostly on digital marketing and websites and things like that.
Mhm.
How is your audience typically finding out about you at the current moment? Like, are there any top acquisition channels or anything like that?
So we have, I think our top acquisition channels are typically digital, honestly. But I would say that it's maybe like a 60-40 mix, because a lot of them are also more event based, like the large trade shows and supply chain symposiums and things like that. So there's that digital element that's like content syndication and ads and ABM, that then we also reinforce that with those trade shows and speaking engagements and webinars, to build credibility, right?
Yeah, I know that the website is kind of like your, let's say, online face that anyone can go to and see.
Yeah,
And even if they do see you in a trade show, they're still going to go check out your website to learn a little bit more, right? It's never
100%.
just, oh, I met you at a trade show, let's start doing business, right? They have to go to the
Right,
website, learn a little bit more. And I think that kind of
right.
leads me into the next question. What role does the website play in terms of client acquisition? Like, in terms of how your website is today, are there any major strengths or weaknesses?
Yeah, it's actually a really timely question for us. We literally just kicked off a website redesign project this past week. So our website today is more of a validation slash demo request tool than it is like an actual true acquisition engine. Our GitHub demos, I mean, the CTA performs pretty well, but it's people that are going to our website specifically with that in mind. So it really hasn't kept pace with what our buyer journey looks like, which is a lot of education. So most of our content is gated. We're just, we're due for an update, right? So right now we're trying to focus on a better UX, layering in tools like AI chatbots and other AI tools. I literally was talking to my manager about PathMonk the other day, and she was like, "Oh, do we need more AI?" And I was like, "Well, can you ever have too much AI?" Is actually my question. So we're basically trying to reconstruct the buyer journey. So right now, our website is, the strength is it exists.
Mm.
um,
Every
the,
website
but
has
there's
a
a lot of
starting place.
opportunity. Yeah,
Okay, I'll be interested to hear more about offline about what you've done to the website recently.
yeah, for
But
sure.
for now, I want to move the conversation a little bit away from Easy Metrics and a little bit more towards Amanda as the lead gen director,
Sure.
and learn a little bit more about what your typical responsibilities look like. So maybe
Yeah.
you can tell our audience in terms of your role, director of lead generation. What does a day to day look like? Are there any typical tasks that you're handling on a regular basis? And how can you give us some visibility into that?
Yeah. So obviously, as demand gen, my ultimate responsibility is driving revenue. So this year, one of my biggest achievements so far has been standing up demand base. And that is our true like ABM motion, where we've talked a lot about ABM. We've done a lot of, target audience research, and now we have a tool to actually do that. So we've been building, what do our engagement metrics look like? Who are we targeting with what ads? What does follow up look like? All of that good stuff. And outside of that, one of our other main areas that we acquire leads from is content syndication. So ensuring that we have that content funnel going consistently with our media partners, choosing the right media partners. That's been a huge part of my responsibilities, is kind of balancing that ratio of, inbound relatively top of funnel leads from content syndication, and then putting them through filters and identifying our ICP through those leads, and then getting them into an ABM program to help move them through the funnel.
Ooh, it's a full pipeline. It is a complicated process.
Yes.
Yeah, one step at a time though. That top of funnel stuff is so important. Making sure you at least have a little the
Yes.
appropriate amount of volume at the top, but once you've actually got them in there, making sure that you're doing the right thing with each and every lead, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's
Absolutely. And it's constant iteration, like, oh, we thought this was going to work great. Oh, that didn't work so well. What's next?
no, I think one of the themes that we see from a lot of people on this show is constant testing. I think one of the guests that we had previously, I asked him like, "What is something that you try to do every single, day or month or week?" And he said once a week he tries to do some sort of an A/B test, whether it be on paid ads, whether it be with a website redesign, like a single landing page, whether it be with rewriting some copy somewhere. Every week he tries to do some sort of A/B test to see if something can be improved. And yeah, I think this is something when you're handling the full cycle from top to bottom,
Yes.
you've constantly got to be improving and testing things. So I can totally
Yes.
see where you're coming from. Okay.
Yes. It's
Uh,
easy to lose sight of one thing when you're focused on something else. And then you have to pull back and go, oh, wait a second. I also have to focus on this too over here.
How does A affect B and how does B affect C?
Exactly.
Yep. Okay. So next, I want to talk a little bit about how you kind of improve upon yourself, not necessarily the website. Is there anywhere that you go to learn, grow, stay up to date, anything like that? Because I know there's a lot of different places we can go to consume content and try to kind of improve upon ourselves, get smarter, faster, stronger, what they say. Where do you go to kind of improve upon yourself?
I'm a little eccentric in that I kind of have a little bit of everything. Short attention span, like a lot of marketers. I want the big and shiny really quickly. So I love Exit 5 newsletters because that gives me the, quick and dirty really fast. And I get that high level. I had a friend recommend Looped In on Substack. And now I'm doing that deep dive into different marketing personalities on Substack. So I'm really digging that. But I love my Marketing Women Slack channel. It's
Mm.
real, it's authentic. I get like actual, like, no, we really did this thing, and it's not like pretty for media consumption. This is the quick and dirty version. So I feel like that's my go-to is if I need like a reality check, I'm going to my ladies on, Marketing Women. And then,
100%. I
your standards, your standard April Dunford, Refined Labs, those types of people are definitely, you've got to keep them in the mix to know what's up.
Those are great and helpful, but I can't agree more when we talk about some of those publicly available Slack channels where you can go
Yes,
to and kind of learn from other people in similar areas trying to accomplish similar tasks who have probably
right,
been through the same process that you're currently going through already.
right.
Uh,
In like 600 different ways, right? Like
yeah,
this person did the same thing, but so did that person, and they have two different outcomes.
yeah.
So it's that real world experience that's so
Not
invaluable.
just someone who wrote some sort of article for
Right.
ranking on SEO, so it has keywords in there, right? This is like
Exactly.
actual
Yeah.
people who can give you some feedback, and yeah,
Yeah,
I
so
do
I
the
think they
same thing.
both have a great place, right? Like you have to have those LinkedIn, thought leadership type of articles so you can kind of like see what's out there. But then it's when it comes to like, is this something I want to implement or am I doing this right? I would rather have that conversation with real people who've
Me
done
too.
that.
Me too. Okay, so we're moving on to the last section of the conversation. Usually, we call this a little bit of a rapid fire round, and
Okay.
what we're looking for is kind of short, crisp answers. First thing that comes to the top of your head. They're a little bit more playful and thought provoking, a little less business oriented. So
Okay.
we can have some fun with this section.
Okay.
Okay, but I'm going to start you out with a nice, easy one. What is the last book that you read?
Honestly, it was Jeff Herman's guide to it's like publishing, literary agents, and editors, I think. Super exciting stuff. I finished writing a novel. And so now I'm like, okay, great. I finished this. Now what do I do with it? So now I'm in the research phase of what do I do with it? How do I find an editor? That kind of stuff.
A lot
Yeah.
of people will always say, "Oh, something about some book on sales or some book on marketing." Oh, you just finished writing your own book. Now you have to figure
Yeah,
out what to do about
I was like,
publishing.
I was trying to think. I'm like, before that, I'm like, I haven't read a book in a hot minute because I've been writing one. And now I'm super excited because I'm done and I can go back to like my laundry list of books to read.
Yeah, it could have been a nice plug for your own book. Um,
Yeah, if I had a publisher or an agent, maybe, but maybe
Maybe
next
a bit
time.
too early. A bit
Maybe
too
next time.
early.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. If there were no boundaries in technology, and I mean, magic, snap of the finger, anything is possible. What would be one thing that you would want to have fixed for your role as a marketer today?
Attribution. 100% attribution. Where did you come from? How did you get here?
Mm,
There's so many channels that are, it's messy, right? No matter how many data sources you have, how many UTM links you have, it's messy. And it's not always traceable. There's, your dark social where someone saw a post on LinkedIn that led them to this, that led them to that, that led them to your booth at a trade show. And then they
mhm.
went to a website. And so, yeah, attribution. If I could just have everyone tell me exactly how they got there.
Or maybe they saw some sort of social post, but didn't necessarily click on the
100%.
link, and then
100%.
ended up seeing it, visiting the website via something else, and
Every time.
it doesn't
Yeah,
necessarily attribute to where they initially saw you guys.
exactly.
Yeah, that can
Exactly. So,
be
yes, attribution. Just tell me where you came from. Please, please, and thank you.
the magic 100% accurate, 100% up to date attribution.
Absolutely.
That
Just
would be
that
awesome.
random little journey that you took. Please tell me. If your mailman's grandpa told you, I want to know that.
Okay. Next question. If there was one repetitive task that you could automate out of, I'm sure, lots and lots of things that you do,
Yeah.
what would be that one task that you would want to have automated?
Proofreading and editing. It just like
Why
you
that?
start like it's funny because actually like it, but I feel like especially when it comes to like graphics, like for ads or for social, I feel like I go detail blind after a while.
Hmm.
Right. And I'm like, oh, is this off center? Is this not off center? Does this look right? I think it looks right.
Mhm.
Um, and then language is just so subjective. I feel like I could look at the perfect sentence and still be like, but you could also say it this way.
You
So
know,
it's like I get hung up in the details because I like it. So I feel like if I could take that step back and just have it like automated, that would just, yeah, I think that would be
I
awesome.
think I hear where you're coming from. I had someone on the show not too long ago, maybe about a month or two ago, and they had said every time they're writing some sort of a new piece, you have to do a version for LinkedIn, a version for the website, a version for, let's say,
Mhm.
Instagram or something. And they're
Yes,
all generally the same, but maybe with slight differences depending on where you're posting them.
exactly.
And
Yes,
and when you're doing it, the same thing over and over and over, but realizing, okay, they might be different audiences on different platforms and things like this. Yeah, you can kind of
yes,
go blind from some of those smaller details when we're talking
yes,
about proofreading. So I
yes.
think
Or
this is
you
kind of
know what you
similar.
meant. How many times have you read something and been like, yep, that looks good. And then after you send it, you're like, oh, yeah, there's that huge typo because you knew what you meant to type. So
Mhm,
you
mhm.
don't see it. Yeah, so that's we literally implemented quality buddies so that nothing goes without someone else seeing it for that reason.
That's smart. That's smart. And I 100% agree. You get that tunnel vision. You don't even realize
Yes,
there's a mistake. It's someone says, "Oh, how could you miss this?" I was just completely blind that there was even anything wrong with it.
right. Because I've also looked at 300 other things today and it just looked good. It looks fine. Let's just move on to the next.
That's a good answer. Okay, so the last question before we get going: what is one piece of advice that you would give yourself if you were to restart your journey as a marketer today?
Trust your instincts. You actually know more than you think you do. And stories are the way to get to where you're going. So ground yourself in data, but trust your instinct and tell a good story.
Everyone got to this point by doing something beforehand, and you learned those lessons along the way. Trust your gut. Don't
Yeah,
overcomplicate and
don't
overthink
overthink
about
it.
everything.
Don't
And
overthink it. You know
those are
more
some
than you
pretty
think.
wise words,
Yep.
especially in today's day and age where there are so many different possibilities about how to approach things. Like,
Yeah.
let's say 10, 15, 20 years ago, everything was relatively simple. And we look at things, okay,
Right.
we're capable of so much more now, which is awesome. But sometimes you don't have to go down every single rabbit hole just to
Yes.
make one decision, right?
The decision paralysis, right? Just pick one. Just pick
Hmm.
one. And I just
And
keep
trust
telling,
your gut when
what,
doing so.
if it doesn't work, try something else. And I think that that is definitely the key to any success is just pick one and go on.
That's really, really wise words. Well, I just want to say, Amanda, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank
We
you.
really appreciated having you on the show. But before you get going, why don't you tell our audience just one more time what is Easy Metrics and how can they find you?
So Easy Metrics is a labor performance management software company, warehouse performance management. And you can find me on LinkedIn or Easy Metrics at easymetrics.com.
Awesome. Thanks for the time.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.